Comic Sniper, thank you for that, bud. How you guys doing? I think there's a couple of you here. 5 folks, very good. So wanted to give an update for a video that I did a couple of weeks ago. It was the United States Postal Service Hates Comic Books. So I want to do a quick update on that. So I'm gonna let a couple more people join. Give me a sec. All right. RB3, nothing amazing. Actually, you know what? I do have a couple of things. Give me a sec. So I saw RB3. I've got a video coming out to thank you for the contest for the win. So those books arrived. I haven't had a chance to read them yet, but I did record a video kind of thanking you for that. So I hope to get that up. I want to say later this week that video comes out. I have it scheduled, so hopefully it comes through. Oh, the sign, that's my wife's. It says, good moms have sticky floors, dirty ovens, and happy kids. So that's our way of excusing our messy house because we have 2 crazy children. So I do want to, I wanted to do this live chat because I wanted to, or this live video because I wanted to show you guys a follow-up to a video that I filmed. It was the United States Postal Service Hates Comic Books. I want to give you guys an update on that. But before I get to that, I wanted to show you guys, because it's Monday and it's Mutant Monday, show you guys a couple of books. RB3, you will like this, brother. So here you go. If you guys don't know about RB3, he does these amazing analysis of comic books. And he kind of helps you to triangulate, if you're going to spend some money, what's maybe the right grade to buy, based upon return on investment. So if you're into numbers and stuff like that, he does these wonderful analysis that you might want to check out. So that's Giant Size X-Men #1. And part of it was that he did one on Giant Size X-Men that hurt my heart because the return on investment wasn't that good. But thankfully, I have that to kind of offset the other. And the good thing is, I think I said on Instagram when I posted this up about an hour ago, is that both of these books, regardless of return on investment, are amazing books to read, amazing stories, amazing artwork, and I'm happy to have both of them in my collection. So yeah, this one, I actually filmed a video about this one as well, the X-Men 1, where I actually went through my rationale for buying the 5.0 versus other grades. There was some moments where I really had to ask myself, like, what's important and what do I want and what do I want to sacrifice, et cetera, et cetera. So you guys may want to check that out because it was I think it's a good video. But I actually love both books. I've read, both of the stories digitally and enjoyed both of them. Yes, exactly. RBT, I kind of figured that you'd say that. I mean, they're both amazing reads, but would I have bought the book after having seen your analysis? Yes, because I'm a huge X-Men fan. So I would have bought the books regardless of what the investment or what the analysis said. It was just, I find your approach to comic books just interesting, right? Not to say that it dictates what I do. I just find it interesting. So, yep, there you go. It is a good book. All right, so one thing that I did pick up, I want to show you guys, I'm going to show you 2 additional books. I actually picked up a book because it was the first appearance of Alistair Smythe, who I guess is the ultimate spider slayer. And there's a rumor that he is going to be the villain in the 2019 Spider-Man movie. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but if you watched some of my videos before about the app that I downloaded, what is it, Key Collectors Comics app, he sent out this alert the other day about Amazing Spider-Man 650. So I actually picked up a copy of that. So not only is it the first appearance of Alistair Smythe, the Spider Slayer, or the Ultimate Spider Slayer, it's also the first appearance of this new Spider-Man suit, which I think is the Stealth suit or something like that. So pretty cool. I have not read the book yet. I literally just got it today, but I thought it was a pretty solid book. Who knows whether this guy will be the villain or not in the movie? Who the heck knows? But I am a huge Spider-Man fan, so I went ahead and got it. And yeah, Miss Hustle, it is definitely some nice artwork. I picked this book up. I want to say it was relatively inexpensive. I want to say I picked up 2 copies. This is the first one to arrive. But the artwork for the cover is just amazing. I'm not even sure who the artist is. I'll have to figure it out. But it's a pretty solid representation of Spider-Man. So if you guys saw that video about United States Postal Service hates, hold on, see a question here. Question, are you collecting both Spider-Man and X-Men? Yeah, so I was actually talking to my wife about this last night. So for me, Spider-Man and X-Men are my 2 favorite characters. And I'm trying to wrap my mind around like what I want to collect. So definitely the keys for for that team and for that character, but I'm also thinking about whether I want to get some larger runs. So with Amazing Spider-Man, for example, I have, books in the 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way up, but I don't have very many, I should say, below 100. So part of my mind is that I want to get like 1 through 100. I think that would be cool. And then for X-Men, it might be like 1 through 20, 25 or something like that. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around specifically what my goal is for those books. For me, though, I want to buy Amazing Spider-Man #1. I actually passed on Amazing Spider-Man #1 to get the X-Men #1 because I like X-Men. So it was a hard decision, but I think it was the right one to make at the time. So again, still wrapping my mind around a specific goal and what I'm going to buy of each one. But I'm a big fan of both, and I have large numbers of both. But I think I want to stick more with the lower numbers than the higher numbers of both titles. All right, so if you saw that video about the United States Postal Service hates comic books, you know that I picked up a book that was basically damaged by the postman. And I don't think it was my local postal guy, because I have this box out in front of my house that allows the postman to put the comics and other boxes and shipments that come to the house easily inside the box. So I think it was damaged somewhere along the route. But the book that I picked up was this book. It's the Comic Reader number 215. And when you look at this book, you're probably like, so what is that book, right? It really doesn't mean anything. But as I mentioned, I am a fan of Spider-Man. And the reason that I picked this book up was specifically for this. This is a pre-ASM 252 appearance of the black costume. And I recorded an entire video on the books that preceded 252, featuring the black costume, and the Comic Reader issue 215 was one of those books. And found the book after searching for it for, I think it was maybe 2 months. Finally found the book. The book arrived. The book was damaged, and if you saw the video, you would see that it's actually like bent in a couple of different places, because it looked like the postman just kind of did an accordion motion with the book. So the book was damaged. Long story short, I was able to get my money back on the book, and then I went on the hunt to try to find the book again. So, you saw that video. I think that if you're talking about the United States Postal Service, I think that was a good video. The Amazing Spider-Man 252 pre-black costume appearances, that was also, I think, a good one. It took me a long time to edit that one. Just because of all the images and the footage and stuff like that. It took a long time to edit, and that was one I was definitely proud of. But the book arrived, and the book was damaged. It's better now that I've had it, stacked with other books, but it's still not perfectly flat. You can kind of see it bulges a little bit. So I was able to find another copy actually very quickly, which was surprising. After it took me 2 months to find this one, I was able to find another copy, and it arrived today. So it actually came in. It's not as nice as my first copy, so that kind of sucks, but it's in pretty good shape. The only thing that really is wrong with it is this upper corner. And my original book didn't really have any of those defects. And you guys know I don't talk about money very much in my books and my videos, but this one, the damaged one, cost me $2, and the replacement cost me $6. So not too happy about that, because the cheaper book was the better book. But it is what it is. So super happy to have the new book in. And I was going to record this as a video and upload it. I just didn't, want to spend the time to edit it. I thought it would just be easier to kind of give you guys a live update. So saw the video. Good. Yeah, the pre-52. Yeah. So again, super happy to have it in here. It literally just arrived a little while ago. I was a little skeptical with this one because the packaging wasn't the best packaging. So I'm actually, based upon these experiences that I've been having over the last couple of weeks with books coming in and books being damaged and stuff, I'm actually thinking about recording a video to talk about the proper way to package a book. And today there were 3 books that arrived, and every single book had a different approach, some better than others. But I'm thinking about recording a video to kind of say, here's the one additional way to do it where it's secure, but it's also an inexpensive way to ship books. Because one of the books that came in today was a single book, and it was 10 ounces, right? So if you guys ship books, 10 ounces is a lot of weight, right? The book was really well protected, but it was also more expensive to ship it. There's a way to ship it and do it for like 7 ounces, which will save you a couple of bucks. So Bubs Comics, hey bud. DS Comics, how you doing? It's good to see both of you guys here. Comic Sniper, man, I may have to. So this one, it's interesting. It's actually not comic book paper. It's actually like newspaper paper. It's weird. And it's not the best produced book. Let's see if I can show a page. Like if you look here, some of the words are actually cut off the page. The production quality is really not that good. And it feels a lot like a newspaper feels. So it should press just fine. But that's one of the thoughts that I had. It's one of the thoughts that I had was to kind of get it pressed and get it to see if I can repair it. So I may still end up doing that at some point. So DS Comics, Bubs Comics, I was just giving everybody an update on my book that was damaged. I don't know if you guys saw the pre-ASM 252 video that I did where I picked up this copy, and the book was actually bent by the UPS man, picked up a brand new copy. Not as perfect as the first, a little bit more expensive than the first, but it's a replacement that is unbent. So I guess that's a good thing. And I may still end up getting the Comic Reader 215 pressed to get it hopefully fixed. So I am still on the hunt for one book. I think it was Heroes Hotline 1983. I think Heroes Hotline 1983 is the last pre-ASM 252 appearance of the black costume that I'm missing. So I'm hopeful that that one will pop up. I have a couple of searches saved online, so I'm hoping, one of these days that'll pop up, and I'll be able to pick that up, and that will essentially complete all of the books that I need. And none of these books, when you talk about them, are expensive. But when I sat down to record that video and did my research, I realized that there were 2 that I didn't have. So I had to go out and find them. And one, again, was easy to find. This Comic Reader was somewhat easy to find. The second is proving very, very difficult. Michael P., how you doing, bud? Comic Book Champ, how you doing? This comments AP negotiation. Cool. All right. So anyway, and then so I showed the Comic Reader, but then while I was waiting, I actually showed a couple of other books. This is ASM 650 with some gorgeous cover art. Just arrived today. It is rumored that McAllister Smythe has his first appearance in here, and they're also saying that he's going to be the new villain in the new Spider-Man movie coming out in 2019. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, so RB3, what I'm doing, I would say go back and watch the video, but what I'm doing is that it is believed that ASM 252 and Marvel team up, and I think there was one other issue that were essentially like tied, if you will, for the first appearance of the black costume. And I watched a video. I think it was actually by DS Comics. He watched a video that pointed out the fact that those two books, which came out in like May of whatever year, weren't the first appearance of the black costume. And he identified, I want to say there were a handful of books that he identified that had actually had a photo, and in some cases a photo and a story about the black costume or the black and red costume, because it was also black and red at one point. And so, as a Spider-Man fan, I wanted to go out and I wanted to get these pre-ASM 252 appearances of the black costume. And so I did, but as part of doing the research for that video, realized that there were two that we didn't know about. And one of them was the Comic Reader 215, the other was Heroes Hotline 1983. Those were the two books that neither of us had that I then went out and picked up. Yeah, and definitely Spectacular Spider-Man. It's interesting that Spectacular Spider-Man 90, where the black cat is on the cover, actually gets no love, even though it basically came out at the same time as 252. It's just and Marvel Team Up. I think they came out roughly around the same time, but Spectacular Spider-Man 90 gets no love for that. Heroes Hotline is a tough, yes, brother. It is. I think I want to say I have two alerts set up, one on eBay and I have another on another site. I can't even remember, and I cannot find them. You can find other hero hotlines, but not the one with the black costume in it. I think it's is it Swamp Thing or Man Thing or something like that on the cover. It's like I want to say it's a black, white, and red cover, almost like a sketch, but it is not an easy one to find. So please don't find it before me, DS Comics. Just don't. Just let me have it. Bueller, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. I have a video coming out for you too. I can't. I think I recorded like, I want to say I have like 9 videos in the can that are going to be coming out over the course of this month into next month. I've been on a roll filming, so those books are going to be coming out. It's kind of, I can't find it. Makes Amazing Hero. Yeah, Amazing Heroes 39 was a tough one to find too. They all came the same week. Exactly, Michael P. It's crazy. They all came around the same time, but again, it's the Marvel Team Up and ASM 252 that get all the attention. It was Bueller, because it was Bueller and DS Comics that inspired me to do that video. And Bueller did this really fantastic interview with Jim Shooter, and he actually talked about how the black costume came to be. There was a guy that was trying to break into the industry as a writer. Jim Shooter, the guy reached out to him and said, "Hey, I have this idea." They had a back and forth, and Jim Shooter ends up buying the guy's his idea, and of course, the black costume comes with that. And it sits in a drawer until they start talking about Secret Wars, and Jim Shooter pulls it out, and then the black costume is born, and it's given life, and then it's been with us for all this time ever since. So Comics with Bueller and DS Comics are definitely the two guys, unbeknownst probably to each one of them, that inspired me to record that video. And then I was actually debating not doing the video, and DS Comics and I had a conversation, and he was like, "You got to record the video. You have a perspective that's different from my perspective." And so I ended up doing it, and I had a lot of fun. It was a heavy lift with editing and all the images and all that kind of stuff, but it was a fun video to make. 1983 Adams black costume. I don't know about that one. RB3 Adams black costume pinup. I don't know that one. Which one is a great story, Bubs? So yeah, I think there's a lot of appearances of the black costume, is kind of what I'm reading here. If it came out 1983, it's kind of in line with some of these other things that we've been talking about. So maybe you can hit me to that game. The other thing, in addition to the Spider-Man books that I showed, because it is Mutant Monday, and in honor of my buddy RB3's analysis that hurt my heart, I had to pull out X-Men #1, Absolutely love this book. And Giant Size X-Men 1. So both of these I've been in my possession probably for a couple of months now. I picked up Giant Size X-Men #1 because it was affordable. And then I stepped my game up and decided to buy X-Men 1. So, oh, you know what? I did hear a little bit about that. Comic Book Champ. I've heard a little bit about that one with the Transformers. Is it Transformers 1 or Transformers 3? I'm not a Transformers guy, but I think I did hear something about that one. Weapons X Squad. I want to say it's Heroes Hotline 1983. I think it's either Swamp Thing or Man Thing on the cover. It's like a black and white and red cover. Mike Burley has an Adams pinup art. Oh wow. RB3, don't offer me something for 9 grand, brother. That's just no. Don't do that to me. Don't do that. I'm in the process. We are in the process of trying to buy a new house. We have an offer in, so I cannot buy any comic books right now. That's why I'm sticking with the cheaper stuff, right? The books that cost $6. So don't talk to me about $9,000 because that's tempting. No, it's not. No, it's not. Really like the black Spider-Man suit as well. Wish you could have got. Yes, yes. RV Comics and Toys. I actually recorded a video. 5 things that make ASM 800 rock and 5 things that suck about ASM 800. And one of the things that I ticked off in there that sucks is that the black costume was back, but then it was gone after like I don't know, like 8 panels or something like that. So definitely a disappointment. It was good to see Spidey back in the black costume because I am a huge fan of the black costume, but it was definitely short lived. There is that one cover from some artist that I can't pronounce. I think his name starts with an I or something like that. He had the a really cool variant cover that was half of the original costume and half of the black costume that I wanted to get. But back to my previous comment, I'm trying to cut back and slow down. But that was a really cool cover featuring the black costume. Heroes Hotline 1983. Yeah, Man Thing, exactly. It is just like it's a nondescript kind of book, but it is a monster to find, and I'm looking, and I am fine. Yeah, don't have that. Bought a McFarlane Spider-Man page. Oh, nice. Hopefully you record a video of that. RB3, the one you showed of Jim Lee that he did in ballpoint pen, I thought was incredible. That was a solid piece of artwork that was just done in simple pen. It's just amazing. And again, for you guys that don't know, or for just everybody in here, I would encourage you to follow one another because there's some guys in here like DS Comics, RB3, Bubs. I watch these guys' videos on a regular basis. Sometimes I watch them, 2 and 3 times, especially RB3's videos. Because in Comics with Bueller, same thing. These are all guys that I watch on a regular basis. They have some great content, and they're all very different from one another, which I think is wonderful. It's not just look at my books, my cool books. They actually spend some time giving something back that I personally find valuable, right? Whether it be an analysis or a quirky take on something or a list of undervalued comic books. I mean, all of these guys are worth checking out. So if you don't follow one another, I definitely encourage it. And then I've got a couple of really cool videos coming out about most of these guys, just because of a contest that they've done or some other way that they've helped me. Bueller just picked up this spinner rack. So as I mentioned to you guys, we are in the process of trying to buy a house. We have an offer out for a house now. Hopefully it will be accepted before 5 p.m. tomorrow. But the kind of sort of the deal that I have with my wife is that if we get this house, I won't have to film in my kitchen anymore because I will hopefully have a room, Comics with Bueller, where maybe I can get my very own spinner rack. So again, that video you did the other day inspired me. So. Yeah, I don't even want to know the price. I'm sure that it was a great price, but it was a pretty cool piece of artwork. I only own a piece of original art that I actually purchased from, I want to say Billy Tan. I got this from Billy Tan. It was a page from Uncanny X-Men. I probably picked that up back in 2008. So there was like this, huge lull, if you will, in my comic book collecting where I collected in the 90s and then I went off to college and, life and all that kind of stuff. And then I started again for a few months in like the mid 2000s. Yeah, like 2008. And I picked up some original art. Well, I picked up one page of original art that I've managed to hang on to all this time, but I really don't have very many pieces of original art or signatures for that matter. I have some signatures, but not as many as what other guys have. Reviews from the Batcave. Hey, I don't follow you, reviews from the Batcave, but I think I will. I've heard some really good things about your content. Somebody I was talking to the other day had nothing but great things to say about some videos that you put up recently, so I'm going to have to check you out. Nah, no, brother, I am not moving to Vegas. I am actually going to move a couple of cities down away from me where we can get a bigger house, as I mentioned, so I can get this comic book room. I mean, I get another bedroom, and where there's awesome schools for my kids. I have two kids, so they have amazing schools. They do schools on a scale of 1 through 10, and the schools are like an 8 from elementary school all the way up to high school. And so it's a great community. So fingers crossed that I actually get this thing by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So have some positive thoughts for me. Reviews from the Batcave. Miss Hustle, sounds like you're a fan of reviews from the Batcave. Bubs, you're a nut. I am not putting those on the spice rack just so I can spin it and watch it go around. I've actually, the funny thing about those cutouts is that, the reason I hadn't done a want list was because I knew how I operate. I knew that if I created a want list, I was going to go out and buy those books. And sure enough, I went out and bought those books. There are only 3 left on the list that I haven't picked up. But there's still like a half year to go, if we do this house thing, that's actually going to slow me down, but there's still a couple of books. And I think it is X-Men 101. There's 2 more and I cannot remember what the 2 are. More than likely they're Spider-Man books, knowing me. I can't remember what the other 2 are. I'll have to go back and look at the video. Go big. Yeah, and I can't remember GS Comics. I honestly can't remember. My high bid was $850. Thought it was going for more. Oh, you got that's for the sketch. Yeah, there were 3 books left, and honestly, for the life of me, I cannot remember what those 3 books were. Actually, I may be able to look. So this is, I think this is only the second time that I've been able to do a live stream where it actually worked. I tried to do it once before, and I think a couple of you guys were on there, and the thing kind of locked up on me. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. And then I did a chat 2 weeks ago with Alex the Comic Hoarder and Thanatos Comics that went pretty well. So definitely cool to get on and do a live chat with those guys. I'd never done that before, so it was definitely cool. Definitely an experience. Where is it? I thought I had it on my Instagram feed. No, I don't see it. Anyway, there's 3 books that are missing. Hopefully I'll be able to get them. ASM 14, no. X-Men 94. I think there was only one X-Men book, and it was the X-Men 102 that I really want. That was on the hunt for that one big time and was very close to that one. No, not Avengers 4. No, not Avengers 4. I'm not an Avengers guy, but that Avengers 4 book does look pretty good. There's a lot of really iconic books out there that I would like to add to my collection. But I've been listening to like Luther Manning and talking with Alex the Comic Hoarder, and it's starting to kind of change my thinking a little bit. And this is a question that someone kind of asked me earlier today, whether I was going to do runs and things like that. And it's my thinking is continuing to evolve. That's part of the reason why in some of my videos I've been talking about cutting back on like all the modern variants. That video that I shot for ASM 800, it was about, all the variants. I think I counted at one point 35 variants. Somebody corrected me and said it was closer to like 52. Doesn't matter whether it's 35 or 52, it's just like too many variants. And they're all gorgeous, right? They're all gorgeous covers. But it's like, do you really need that many variants, right? And, do you need to produce that many? Much less, do you need to buy that many? And I bought a lot. And I think the variants are something, that I want to cut back on. I may cut back more on the modern books and acquire fewer modern books. It's to the point now where I'm buying books and I'm not even able to read them because I'm picking them up. And I actually, I'm a big fan of if I buy it, I want to read it, whether it be, picking up Giant Size X-Men and reading it digitally, or, picking up, some other book and actually sitting there flipping through it. I want to read my books. I want to enjoy them. And I haven't been able to do that as much. Again, with two kids and all the stuff in life, you get kind of busy. So, yeah. Yeah. DS Comics, the moderns, dude, it's tough, and you can burn up, 30, $40 a week just on moderns alone. And I buy from three different shops. So I'm bouncing around every week. I hit three different shops to be able to cover my bases and show everybody a love. RB3, did I hear that you got an Amazing Fantasy 15? I was watching someone else's video. It might have been Luther Manning. He had, I think he did a live stream the other day of that Fantastic Four. Yeah, Fantastic Four #1 that he picked up, and I think he mentioned that you got Amazing Fantasy 1. Is that true? Trying to read through these here. I'll have to go back and read some of these. Yeah, the variants are crazy. Definitely way too much. Again, even for Amazing Spider-Man 800, it was $10 a pop. And for me, I had some standing orders to get all Amazing Spider-Man issues that come out as well as variants. So when I walked in, my guy had a stack of them for me, and it's like, I didn't want to tell him no because I kind of, in my opinion, committed to buying it. So I went ahead and did it. But at $10 a pop, I definitely wasn't happy, given that he had, I don't know, like 9 of them or something like that. It was a bit much. So RB3, did you get this Amazing Fantasy 15? Come on, brother. Inquiring minds want to know. Yeah, buying runs I think is a good way to go. It also just takes up so much space, right? We live in, or up until like I sold this house last week, we live in a smaller house in the San Francisco Bay Area. So if anybody's familiar with the Bay Area, tiny house, a lot of money. And so there isn't a whole lot of space to store books. And so I had a bunch of books from my childhood. I've acquired several collections, and I mean, I have books in the house, in my kids' bedrooms, books in the garage. It's just a lot of books. So I've been trying to really focus myself on buying those things that I really want, and that's why I may end up buying things like Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 100, or X-Men, 1 through 25 or something like that. So it'll be a run, but it'll be a very focused run, I think, instead of just the random, story arcs and runs here. There's some beautiful variants, yeah, but they are getting out of control. Oh, you're telling me to get Amazing Fantasy? So, yeah, I would love to have Amazing Fantasy 15. I did, however, come across Amazing Fantasy 13 the other day. I took a photo of it in a local comic shop. I was going through a box and they had Amazing Fantasy 13. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't think I'll be getting that anytime soon. I will, the next really, really big book that I would like to get would probably be Amazing Spider-Man #1. I would like to get that. My birthday is coming up, as is Father's Day. So, babe, if you're watching, probably not going to happen. What do we have? Miss Hustle, you need to get on those videos. Oh, he almost got one this year, but the dude backed out. Thomas Shop. Oh, DS Comics, that's heartbreaking, man. That's heartbreaking to come that close, you know? to come that close and not be able to get it. Yeah, I know ASM one is going up fast, and really, and I was talking about this earlier in the live feed here, is that I was actually sitting and debating X-Men one or ASM one, and it really doesn't matter which one you pick. I think both of them were headed up very quickly, and I was able to get a really good deal. And by it's not even really a good deal. That's not really true. I was able to get a book that I really wanted, X-Men number one, and a really good grade for what I thought was a fair price. And it seemed at the time that X-Men 1 was moving up faster than Amazing Spider-Man. And I think part of the reason for that is the same is because of Amazing Fantasy. Yes, it's out of reach, but that's still technically the first appearance of Spider-Man, which isn't necessarily the case for kind of sort of these two books, right? This book is going up kind of sort of, yes, but this book is still the book that everyone really wants. And I think like Amazing Fantasy and Amazing Spider-Man number one are kind of the same. Hopefully that makes sense. What does that say? Yeah, yeah. So if you get a chance to buy that book again, you call me. I'll chip in on that. We can share that book. I don't know where you live, but I trust you enough. We will share that book. You get it for the first 6 months. I get it for the second 6 months of the year. We'll do it like a shared custody child. You know, dude, Comic Sniper. I don't know how you explain that to him. I don't. I don't think that they're. Well, actually, let's ask Miss Hustle. Miss Hustle, are you married? If you're married, tell us the proper way to explain buying Amazing Fantasy 15 to your significant other. Tell us, give us some verbiage that we can use, because I think Comic Sniper may try to implement that relatively soon. My wife, honestly, she doesn't care what I do with comics. She really doesn't. And I still sneak comics in the house. I'll buy a collection and hide it in the garage. I've had countless guys come to my house to buy books because I sell like books in bulk, things that I don't want for my collection. After I buy one, I'll get rid of through selling it. And I'll have guys come here that are basically saying, I'm here, my wife doesn't know I'm here, and I'm gonna sneak these books in, or I'm gonna leave them in the car for a few days and try to get them into the house. It's just amazing what we do. And I do it to some extent. My wife absolutely doesn't care. But I have a feeling that if I tried to buy ASM 15, we might need to have a discussion about that one. 1.8 white pages. That's crazy. Miss Hustle, I like your approach. So you're basically saying spend lots of money on two different items. Okay. I mean, if you're going to do it, poker face. Comic Sniper, I like that. What does it say? I bought an ASM 1 5.0 early. Wow. Yep. It's crazy. Comic Book Ninja, you definitely bought it the right time. And that's part of the reason why I decided to buy my X-Men 1 when I did. I bought it because I felt like things were going to continue. I bought a book that I could definitely be proud of. It's not a perfect book. I originally set out to buy a 2.5 to a 3.5. But as I looked at those books and I looked at what it would cost to buy it, I could not justify, in my own mind, spending that money for that book in the condition of the books that I was seeing at the time. And so, moving up to a 5.0 was the right thing for me. And part of me, I've never actually regretted the purchase. I've regretted not being able to buy both books, both ASM 1 and X-Men 1, but I've never ever regretted purchasing this book, because every time I can, I pull it out and I look at it and I remind myself of why I did it. And I never had one moment of buyer's remorse with this book. What does it say here? For real though, the best thing would be to talk about it with your wife. Yeah. Yeah. One thing I try not to do, honestly, is lie to my wife. I'm just not a fan of that. And again, she doesn't really care really what I do. But if you're going to spend that kind of money, I think, the thing is to give people a heads up that you're going to do it, because it is a purchase. But we have a tendency to work out compromises, right? So we bought our first house together, couple of years ago, and the agreement was if we bought the house, she would cut the grass. She has cut the grass every single week that we've been in this house. I've cut it, I think, 3 times, and at least 2 of those times it was because she was pregnant. And so she is a woman of her word, and so we have the ability to work out these agreements. And if I were to buy ASM one, I don't think she would have a problem with it if we had the discussion. In fact, somebody on Instagram is selling Amazing Spider-Man 4, first appearance of Sandman, for like a couple of bucks. And the guy's comment as I was reading it last night was, I want this book gone today. And I'm telling her this, and she's like, so is it worth it? I'm like, yeah. She's like, so how much is it? And I tell her, she was like, so are you going to get it? And it's like, no, I'm not going to get it because I'm committed to money, even though it's a small money, right? It's not the best thing to do. So ASM 15 versus divorce. Oh, DS Comics, we got to talk, brother. I've been through a divorce. You don't want to go that route. Not over a comic book. And I know you're joking. I know you're joking. So to go check your key collection to pick up a grail, isn't it the hardest thing to do? Comic Sniper, what's funny is that Alex, the comic hoarder, actually talked about this very thing in a video the other day. He picked up, like, I'm not a Green Lantern or DC fan, but he picked up a book that I tried to do a quick search for. Seemed really, really expensive. Like really expensive. And in his video, he talked about the pain and discomfort with giving up important books in one's collection to get a grail. And for him, it was painful, but it was the right thing to do because the book that he was getting was a book that he absolutely loved. And what was crazy is that as he was unboxing the video in a live video, as he was unboxing the book in a live video, you could see his facial expression. You could see like the happiness on his face as he was opening this book up and touching it for the first time. And Alex is, from what I've seen, is a pretty even keel kind of guy, but you could see it. And I actually got excited as I was watching it. I don't know anything about DC books or Green Lantern for that matter. But I got excited because he was so excited, because it was such an important book. Yeah, try to get a presentable 2.0 grade. Yep, agree with that. Comic Book Ninja, definitely agree with that. RB3, you are a funny man. Yeah. Yeah, I struggle. I mean, I'm reading what DS Comics and Comic Sniper are kind of talking about, and I actually had an exchange with a guy yesterday who, buys books, spells books, and then he can reinvest in his collection. You know, I think everyone has to have an approach and a philosophy that works for them, and it's like if you do that and you don't regret it, then I think that's an approach that works for you. I struggle with that. I struggle with seeing books that I like go away unless I have multiple copies of it. If I have multiple copies of it, then I think I can wrap my mind around it. But a book, that I've been able to pick up or purchase or whatever it is to see it go away, I don't know if I would struggle with that. For example, if I had to sell this giant size X-Men, I would probably struggle with that. I have two Hulk 181s that I picked up. One is a 5.5 sign, and one is 8, I think, 8. And I struggle with, should I sell the 5.5 sign to be able to get me a little bit closer to buying Amazing Spider-Man #1? And I struggle with it. I really do. And in fact, I was having a conversation with Thanatos, Matt, and he had a book that I wanted. And he was like, hey, I'll trade you and even throw in cash. I couldn't do it. I struggle with it. But it's like, if you can do that, hey, more power to you. It's just not my thing. And I think that's what's great about comic book collecting, is that everyone has their own approach. their own philosophy to collecting, to whatever it is, and it all works. It all works. We all get along, and it's like, hey, whatever you want to do is fine. There's people that love DC, go for it. I'm not a DC fan. People that love horror, people that love Golden Age, not my thing. Go for it, have fun, and we can all get along. Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. There are plenty of books, and there was one that I was looking at, and it was like there were so many. Maybe it was Giant Size X-Men. There are so many copies that you can let it go and be able to get it again whenever you want a little bit later. Because if there's 6,000 copies of it, above, yeah, above like a 7.0, plenty of time, plenty of inventory to be able to snag one. Raw copy limit 30. Everything's gets sold. Yeah. Hulk 181, yeah. Oh, wow, you sold X Men 4? Yeah, I get that. I get that. Would you have sold an X Men 1 to get Hulk 181? Would you have done that? I'm curious. Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends on the book, right? It depends on the book. I want that Fantastic Four 48. I want to get 48, 49, and 50. I actually have a couple of videos coming out soon where I'm talking about some of the cosmic entities that I've been picking up. There's like cosmic entities that like Galacticus and some of these other characters that may impact the MCU in the future that I've been trying to pick up for a decent price. And so I have a couple of videos coming out in the next few weeks about that. But yeah, I would love to get that Fantastic Four 48. I actually went and I read that story. I read that story arc, 48, 49, 50, and it's a really good story arc. With Galacticus in that big old G belt that he wears. Somebody said the other day, it's amazing that he has the command of the English language, right? If he's this cosmic character, he has a G on his belt. So I thought that was funny. Yeah, selling minor books to get grails. That makes sense. What's going on, RB3 in Vegas? What's going on? What's the grail on DS Comics? Because I have a couple of those New Mutants 87s. I'm curious what your oh, that you have a 9.8. You are a fan of the 9.8, my friend. I've been impressed with that with your collection. I'm curious what you're picking up. Ah, Frank Miller. That's cool. That's cool. What is it with Torpedo Comics? I mean, it seems like there was Jim Lee there. He picked up that Hulk one right before it was announced that he was coming to sign. Now you guys are getting Frank Miller. Seems like for whatever reason, Torpedo Comics gets some really big artists there. Oh, Vegas Comic Con. There you go. There you go. It's crazy, dude. Your 9.8 collection, like I started to second guess myself because I was like, every book this dude has is a 9.8. It is very impressive the standard that you have for yourself. And again, it goes back to the point that I was making about how, people have these standards and they decided they're going to collect this thing and they do and it all just works. It all just makes sense. I think in that last massive CGC unboxing that I did, that I had a couple of 9.8s in there. In fact, I was actually talking to a guy today, a guy that's just trying to get into comics. He reached out to me and he was talking about a 9.6 of New Mutants 100. I'm like, dude, 9.6 of New Mutants, 100. Why don't you get a 9.8? And he comes back with this price that it was like $199. And I'm like, well, if you're gonna do a modern book, you got to do a modern book. So I was channeling you because I actually do have a 9.8 in New Mutants. 9.8 is high for me. It gives me nosebleeds. Oh man. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody actually did a video of Torpedo Comics' vault, and it was basically grail after grail after grail after grail as you looked around this room. And I just want to come because I want to just be in that room. And it seems like they just have an amazing collection of books. I think, what's the guy's name? Gabe. I actually follow Gabe on Instagram. I think I'm on following him on YouTube as well. I think Gabe actually works at Torpedo. That's how I was introduced to Torpedo, was through Gabe and watching him. Dave Finch. I don't know David Finch. I know Frank Miller for sure. Collecting my Gmon. So the cool thing is, who said that? Miss Hustle. So I think the thing is that, everyone has a standard, and I know there are guys that I talk to, like, even Alex the Comic Hoarder and Thanatos, and I bring these guys up because I literally talk to like Thanatos, if not every day, every couple of days. They feel that there's like a sweet spot for books where they buy books in like that 3 to 4 range on a regular basis, and they're very comfortable in that range of buying books. And I think everyone has to have their standard. DS Comics, his standard is incredibly high, and that, again, I think it all works because there's enough books to go around for everyone. Oh yeah, for bronze, you like the 8.5s? Yeah. Want something signed by Jim Lee. He will be, yeah. Oh man, that's cool. RB3, brother, I appreciate that. I may have to take you up on that. I may have to write that down so I don't forget, because I have all of those X-Men from the 90s. Honestly, I'd like to get those signed. I've been trying to track down the newsstand edition of those books, and they are definitely hard to find, but I may have to take you up on that. Do you know how much he charges for signatures? I'm just curious. So, Miss Hustle, I don't consider myself an investor, to be honest with you. I consider myself a reader and a collector more than anything else. So a lot of the books that I have are really books from my childhood, that are eights, sevens, even, that I've had ever since I was as a kid. I mean, I've held on to Exterminators and Dark Hawk since they came out back in the 90s. But for me, there are certain books that, like, as a kid, I always wanted, right? And so my thing is, if I'm going to spend the money, I want to get the best book that I can possibly get so I don't regret it. Either because I didn't get a better book, or, I don't want to spend too much for a book and then regret that. So I get the best book that I can possibly get where I'm proud to have it in my collection. And so, like anything, first and foremost, and I talked about this earlier, is that I want to enjoy it. I want to read it. I want to enjoy it. I want to like what I buy, and I want to feel good about it where I don't regret it. I don't want to buy a book too low in grade and regret that I, spent good money on a book. And I don't want to, again, spend crazy amounts of money. I feel like there's a sweet spot. And for me, I don't know what that sweet spot is until I start to look at that book. And so I talked about this with X-Men #1. I was looking originally at like a 2.5 to like a 3. I felt like that was where I wanted to be. But when I started looking at the inventory and the condition of the book, I could not justify pulling the trigger on that book. And so I had to go higher. But I don't consider myself an investor or speculator. I may talk like that sometimes, but first and foremost, I am a comic book fan and a collector. So, rare this season. Sorry for the plug. Leave a video on the value of low grade versus, yeah. I may have to, Comic Sniper, I want to check that out if you did that. RB3 does something similar to that, where he does an analysis looking at a high grade, mid grade, and low grade book, and I find those incredibly helpful to kind of go through. Giving away G. RB3, I am entering that contest. If you guys don't know, RB3 throws a crazy contest they call In It to Win It contest. I won for the month of May. I have a video coming out where I'm actually going to be showing you guys what he gave me, and it was a huge stack of books. There were a couple of, like, really nice books in there, and also a really, really nice kicker, which was a Suicide Squad #7 signed by Jim Lee. I don't have anything that was a Suicide Squad, and I certainly didn't have anything signed by Jim Lee. So I was definitely happy to win that contest. So again, if you guys aren't following him, in addition to some great content, he also has some great contests. Maybe rare to get in mint grades, looking through my items and not seeing a uniform army of nines. There you go. There you go. Collect what you, and that's why I collect what I like and I don't regret it. And people ask me all the time, well, what about this book? What about that book? Someone asked me just today about Heroes for Hire, Luke Cage. I'm like, so I don't know anything about Luke Cage, right? I know it's a black cover book and it's hard to get in high grades, but I have no interest in buying it and I have no opinion of it. Like, if you like it, you should buy it, but I'm not a Luke Cage fan. Same way with, like, again, DC books. There are some great DC books out there that I've heard about. I'm just not a DC guy, and I don't care how much the return on investment is. I'm not going to buy a DC book, Green Lantern book, or any Hawkman book, or any other kind of book, if I'm not going to read or enjoy it and also treasure it. It's just not that serious for me. For grails, though, it's just safest bet investment to get already graded. Agree with that. Yep. Very good. I think it's good discussion here. I actually did pick up an Amazing Spider-Man 300, supposedly unrestored, came back color touch. Not happy about that. But yeah, not happy about that one at all. Thankfully, I have a backup copy that is getting signed, I think this month, and hopefully getting sent off to CGC. So I'm hoping to get that back sometime soon. All right, guys, it is time for me to go to the gym. There are 19 of you in here. I want to thank all of you guys for sticking with me. I enjoyed the conversation tonight. Thank you guys for hanging in there and checking out my books and giving me some things to think about. RB3, brother, I am looking for you for that Jim Lee thing at the end of the month. I will bundle some books up. I will reach out to you and try to find out what the cost is per signature so I can make sure that I compensate you and all that good stuff. So thank you guys for hanging in there. If you haven't watched the United States Postal Service Hates Comic Books or the pre-ASM 252 black costume, I encourage you guys to check out those videos. But thanks a lot for hanging in there. Take care. Does anybody know how to turn this off?